50 feet under marshland at Flushing, Long Island, at the New York World's Fair 1939, our civilization lies buried in a torpedo-shaped copper alloy time capsule, 7.5 feet long, 8 3/8 inches in diameter, not to be opened for 5,000 years. The Columbia Workshop, seeking to compress in its own time capsule the past 5,000 years that have contributed to our civilization and the 5,000 years of the world of tomorrow, resorts to a more evanescent medium. 30 minutes of perishable, fleeting radio time.
Less than 30 minutes now.
The broadcast was written and directed by William N. Robeson.
Never heard of him. I'm sorry, but we must get on.
You've heard of me, though.
Oh, yes. The Pharaoh Cheops, God King of Egypt 5,000 years ago.
Ago? I am Pharaoh now. 2,000 years ago, my people settled in this valley, learned to till the soil, and to build houses, and to use tools. And with me and my works, my people have reached the climax. For look what I have commanded, and what my people have built for me. Look yonder, at my great pyramid. When I die, I shall enter it, to lie there in peace forever. And men shall marvel and realize that with me, mankind had reached the zenith of achievement.
We've only got 28 minutes and 12 seconds, Pharaoh, and anyway, you sound like a gross materialist to me. Apparently you've never, but of course, you couldn't know about the grave robbers who emptied your tomb of everything, including your mummy, hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
We realize now the error of the philosophy of the Pharaoh Cheops.
Who are you?
I am the father of Merikiri, who is to follow me as king of the old kingdom of Egypt, where civilization still flourishes in our capital of Heracleopolis. We have learned much since the great Cheops was laid to a material rest in his pyramid tomb 500 years ago. We now know that there is more to life than death. We realize now how well bestead are men, the flocks of God, for he made heaven and earth according to their desire. He quenched the thirst for water. He made the air that their nostrils might live. They are his likeness which came forth from his limbs. He made the light according to their desire. He raised protection around them.
What you say is very interesting, old man, but it might surprise you to know that your 4,000-year-old thoughts are well known to us today, because a young Hebrew shepherd king was also perhaps familiar with them, and 500 years after you died, he sang,
"The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear
Sorry,
no evil."
David, we've only got 26 minutes and 10 seconds left. We must get on, and 8,000 years to go.
I, Xerxes, the great king, the king of kings, the king of the lands of many tribes, the king on this wide, far-stretching earth, the son of Darius the king, the Achaemenid, a Persian, son of a Persian, an Aryan of pure Italian lineage, has built this magnificent staircase in the palace of Persepolis. Its beauty and grandeur is a symbol of the eternal might and power of the Persian Empire, the empire which shall never end.
Yes, Xerxes, you do well to boast. It is true that you own the world. It is true that Greece and India and the 3,000-year-old civilization of Egypt now belong to you. But watch your step. In less than 150 years, a tough young man named Alexander is coming out of the mountains of Macedonia and burn your beautiful palace to the ground. And for more than 2,000 years, your royal playground, Persepolis, will be a pile of rubbish until little modern men from a distant land push away the brick and reveal to a marveling world your crumbling glory.
Who's wasting time now?
What? Oh, how did you get in?
On the next wave of empire. Let me introduce myself. I'm Pilate, Pontius Pilate, Roman magistrate, now assigned to Jerusalem.
Oh, I see. I'm glad to meet you, Pilate. How are things in your part of the world?
Oh, fair enough. Could be better, of course. But conditions are looking up. Much better since they did away with Julius Caesar. Of course, out here in the provinces, we always have trouble of some sort or another.
For instance?
Well, national minorities, principally, want all sorts of special privileges and a say in the government. Organized pressure groups, you know. Constant annoyance.
Yes, I know. We have that sort of trouble today, too.
Is that a fact? Well, would you believe it, just a little while back, one of these fellas got out of hand, and a lot of the natives started calling him King of the Jews. Can you imagine it?
Not really.
Well, sure as I'm standing here. Well, you know we can't have that sort of thing in the Roman Empire.
Sorry, Pilate, you're wasting time, and there's 7,000 more years to account for. 2,000 years until today, and the next 5,000 after that.
Nothing important happened for the next 800 years until I was crowned Holy Roman Emperor last Christmas.
Then this is 801 A.D., and you're Charlemagne.
Yes, Charlemagne, the Holy Roman Emperor.
Indeed. To what do you owe your success, Charlemagne?
Well, Alexander of Macedon was a great conqueror, but his conquests were of little benefit to Europe. Julius Caesar was a great conqueror, but after him came the emperors. Constantine was a great emperor, but he was a superstitious man. He tolerated paganism. I eclipse the splendor of these names. If I don't deserve the epithet great, who does? If my empire and my name do not endure forever, whose will?
What's that word forever, Charlemagne? It's sometimes very funny. The only time we can be sure of is the next 22 minutes and 5 seconds.
I am Godfrey de Bouillon. I was one of the leaders of the First Crusade. What is all this talk of time? It took us a year before besieged Antioch fell to the might of Christian arms. We laid siege to the holy city for more than a month. We had time, we took time, and it was worth it. When my men rode into Jerusalem, the slaughter was magnificent. The blood of the infidel ran through the streets until it splattered on our horses' bellies and stained our coats of mail. Oh, it was glorious.
Glorious to wade through rivers of blood in the name of God.
It was only Saracen blood. And that night, sobbing for joy, we entered the Holy Sepulchre.
Splattered with blood?
Of course. We gave our thanks to God who had led us to such a glorious victory. A victory which will endure forever.
Your victory is not yet complete, bloody Godfrey. Men still fight in the Holy Land. And the only lasting value of your crusade and the ones that followed was to open a trade route to the Orient and to open the eyes of church-bound Europe to wider horizons and a vaster world.
You speak nonsense. You do not realize...
Time's up, Godfrey the Bloody. There's only 20 minutes and 5 seconds left.
I am Francois, the vintner. That is, I was a vintner until the Black Death came. Now, because I'm one of the strongest men in the village, I bury the dead. Soon, there will be no one left to bury. They die in the street. They die in their beds. Horrible humors drooling from their mouths. They die young and old, the rich, the poor, the ugly, the beautiful, they all die. Soon, I too will die. After the plague, nothing will be left. Surely, it is the judgment of God and the end of the world.
Wrong, Francois. Although the Black Death, in which you did such a heroic service, took 25 million lives, took indeed 1/3 of the population of Europe, it was not the end. Of course, you did not know this because, as you surmised, you too died in the plague. But the human race, as it always seems to do, went on.
I beg your pardon. If you have the time, I should...
I have 10,000 years, Columbus, but only a few seconds for you.
I don't quite... Well, I wonder if you could direct me. I'm bound for Asia, you see. Rich spices, jewels, gold. Marco Polo came back a while ago with really fabulous stories. But instead of heading due east, I'm determined...
You're heading west.
That's right. You see, I have a theory that if
So did Ptolemy, about 1,400 years before you, Chris. But you're okay. Keep on west and bear left at the Azores, and you'll run right into America. Little time, so little time.
I had a thing to say, but I will fit it with some better time.
Ah, a man of sense. A man who knows the value of time.
Methinks the time is out of joint.
Oh, cursed spite that ever I was born to set it right.
But wait a minute, I haven't written that line yet.
I know, but you will. For unless I am mistaken, you're Shakespeare, the Bard of Avon.
I don't recognize the rest of your phrase, but I am Shakespeare. Sometimes a poet, mostly the writer of plays, which I scriven with great effort so that I may feed myself and remain outside the debtor's prison.
Have you nothing to say for posterity?
Nothing that posterity will ever listen to, I fear. London's too full of poets and playwrights who have the public ear right now. There's Kit Marlowe and rare Ben Jonson, Tom Dekker. But anyway, we're too busy these days to bother much about posterity. Now, if you'll pardon me, I must get back to work on this new play of mine. Curiously moody piece about a Prince of Denmark. Drop in again someday when we both have more time.
Time? Yes. Only 16 minutes and 10 seconds left.
It has been said of me, Voltaire, consort of kings and commoners, prototype of 18th century culture, that I invented history. I did not. History is ridiculous. In the way it is written, one would think that for 1,400 years in France there lived none but kings, ministers of state, and generals. What are the customs and habits of their souls? Are they nothing?
Nothing without power. I gave them power. I am James Watt, who looked at a singing tea kettle and harnessed its power in the steam engine. I gave power to the world. I created a revolution without the shedding of a drop of blood. The Industrial Revolution.
No bloodshed in Homestead?
No bloodshed at Passaic?
Or Ludlow?
Or South Chicago?
No time for arguments. No time for recriminations. The Industrial Revolution is a fact.
Bloody fact.
They are right. I saw it all. I knew what the machine would do. I predicted it.
Who are you?
Karl Marx.
Sorry, we have only 14 minutes and 6 seconds left.
You must hear me. A specter is haunting Europe. The specter of communism. All the powers of old Europe have entered into a holy alliance to exorcise this specter. Where is the party in opposition that has not been decried as communistic by its opponents in power? Communism is already acknowledged by all European powers to be itself a power.
Wait a minute, Herr Marx. We've only gotten to the 19th century.
Friedrich Engels and I wrote those words in 1848.
And no one would listen to them.
Just a minute, madam.
Silence. Victoria Regina speaks. When I was 18, I received a crown tarnished with ineptitude and vice. I wore it 63 years and made it a symbol of private virtue and public honor.
Only 13 minutes and 10 seconds, Vicky.
But I gave my name to a whole sprawling century. The sun never sets on my empire.
You're wasting time.
But look at my times. Robert Browning and his lovely wife, Antimacassars, whatnots, Carlyle, the Huxleys, Parnell, Mill, Gladstone, Bustles, Rossetti, William Morris, Karl Marx, although I never knew him.
Bourgeois.
The Yellow Book, the Suez Canal, Aubrey and Oscar, and Dizzy. Dizzy was so important.
Time's up, Your Majesty.
But the list is so long.
We still remember you. We have so little time, and there's a war coming on.
And I say unto you, the time of Armageddon is at hand, as it is prophesied in the Scriptures. In Flanders fields, our boys lie bleeding, sacrifices to the beast. Across the world ride the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Nothing can save us now, for it has come as it was written, this is the destruction of mankind. This is the end of the world. O ye of little faith.
Not so fast, old boy. Not yet a while. We still have 12 minutes and 10 seconds to go. And so much has happened since the war to end all wars was itself ended. Just listen to the voice of our time.
Oh, Darnella, I love your hair and eyes. I'm a lucky fella to catch it by your
Well, then I'll bid 3 spades, although I don't suppose
Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every
Well,
way.
you know, I just about decided to bob my hair. John, I was talking
Johnny,
about
you'd better stock up your cellar. After July 1st, there won't be a drop of liquor in the whole country.
I'm always thinking of you, Ma.
Better get into this. The sure thing. A friend of mine gave me the tip. Bound to go up 5 points.
Thank you. I just love one, but I never smoke in public. After all,
Yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas.
Maisie, it's a 2-letter word meaning Egyptian sun god. If I can only get it.
Alabama, 24 votes for Underwood. Alabama, 24.
Come on, baby. A little neck never hurt anybody. You have to.
The people of Tennessee versus John Thomas Scopes. The charge, teaching that men are descended from monkeys. Counsel for the defense, Clarence.
Shining for me.
Listen, I got it straight. The new Ford's going to have a gear shift. And what's more, they're going to have a different...
American Universal Consolidated, 100, 101, 101 and 1/2.
Well, you know, that Lindbergh fella's made it, and ain't he handy?
No waiting for seats. See the new Vitaphone talking pictures. There's no waiting for seats.
American Universal Consolidated, 120, 123.
All right, you mutt.
125.
Up against the wall. Reach. Okay, Tony. Let him have it.
I do not choose to run.
Dear friends of the unseen audience, it always gives me pleasure to address you way out there in Radio Land, and I know that you too.
Consolidated, 198, 199 and 1/2.
I remember
200.
you. You're Mr. Addison Sims of Seattle. We met 3 years
Come
ago.
on, hurry, Frank. It's Clara Boo's first talkie, and I don't want to miss any of it. You know.
205, 206,
Don't sell America short.
211, 213, 215.
These prices will look ridiculously cheap in another year.
Buy.
I can't give you anything but love.
American Universal Consolidated, 278, 281 and 1/2, 283,
Buy.
284.
There is no top.
286.
Buy.
4-wheel brakes.
Buy.
Super heterodyne 6-tube console model.
290,
Buy.
292,
The sky's the limit.
295, 296, 298, 300, 301,
Just tell him Mike said Jack.
311, 305.
the times in Ray. We'll get it.
Hello. This is the Fresh Air Taxi Cab Company, Copley. No, Amos ain't here.
I hope you will always think of me when you wear these, darling.
American Universal Consolidated, 18, 17 and 1/2, 17, 16 and 3/4, 15, 14,
Prosperity
13,
is just around the corner.
Buddy, can you spare a dime?
I know that fascism, being a creation of the Italian race, as a men and the will of it, is darkened necessities, and the soul, unconquerable, is destined to make an indelible impression on the 20th century of history, for we have buried the putrid corpse of liberty.
Ray, tasteless bread.
Peaceful this morning in Shrine Garden. Well conditions, it is hoped, will also be peaceful.
In Shanghai, in Nanking, in Hankow.
They all of rival ideologies will, regardless of its motives, find Germany fighting at the side of her ally, Italy.
Buddy, can you spare a dime?
What's the use? Why should I go on trying to get a job so I can make a living, so I can raise a family, so I can pay for my own funeral? Let the big boys fight it out. Let them have the world. Let them kill us all before they starve us to death. Let's blow up the whole thing and check out. Let's turn the earth over to the bugs and the germs.
Wait a minute, mister. Don't you see there is no end? Don't you see this is just the beginning? Listen, did you know that there occurred last September, at the exact moment of the autumnal equinox, an event which is unparalleled in the history of the earth since 3,000 million years ago, the first unicellular life appeared upon the steaming waters of this uninhabited globe?
At noon on September 23rd, 1938, as the exact moment of the autumnal equinox approached, there gathered on the grounds of New York World's Fair 1939 a solemn group of scientists and industrialists to consecrate to the people of 6939 A.D. the Westinghouse time capsule, within the slim, streamlined confines of which was packed the heritage of our times.
The capsule, a torpedo-shaped cartridge of cupeloi, most time-resistant metal known to modern man, 7 feet 6 inches long, within which is encased a Pyrex-glass sheet in which are packed the contents.
First, curious trivial articles of modern daily life. Artifacts such as enable modern archaeologists to deduce so much of mankind's past, from which the archaeologists of 5,000 years from now may derive some amusement or instruction.
A can opener.
An alarm clock.
A miniature camera.
An electric razor and a safety razor.
Cigarettes and a hat by Lily Deshay.
And makeup and a rhinestone clip from the 5 and 10.
A watch and a slide rule.
A nail file and a padlock and a Mickey Mouse cup.
And a score of other things we use and enjoy every day. A newsreel showing
Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Howard Hughes.
Jesse Owens.
Baseball.
The bombing of Canton.
And bathing beauties.
And 3.5 reels of microfilm on which are more than 1,000 pictures and more than 10 million words, comprehensively covering our lives and times.
Complete with instructions for the building of a projection machine and a microscope for immediate and ready reading.
All these things are buried 50 feet deep in the time-resisting capsule of cupeloi. All these things, all this knowledge, and 2 more things. 2 books. The Holy Bible and the Book of Record.
The Book of Record. I hold one in my hand now. I, who have skidded with you through 5,000 years of the past during these brief 30 minutes of eternity. The Book of Record of the Time Capsule. We have laughed at man, clad in his brief authority tonight, you and I. And yet, here in my hand, I hold a slim book, printed on the most imperishable paper known to modern science. There are only 2,000 of these books in the world. They are now up on the shelves of museums, libraries, lamaseries, and monasteries the world over. Perhaps In some remote Shangri-La, one of them will remain 5,000 years from now. Perhaps some future sage, browsing through the stacks of antiquity, will come upon this very book I hold in my hand, and struggling through the archaic phrases of the dead language which it is written, will be inspired to search for the heritage of 1939, buried in what is now known as Flushing Meadows, or what will be known to our immediate posterity as the grounds of New York World's Fair 1939. For the book contains explicit information how to find the time capsule, as well as a request of future vandals to let it rest in quasi-eternity until its opening day 5,000 years from now.
Time capsule may be found by latitude and longitude, directions for which are given to the third decimal point in seconds of arc, a measurement so accurate as to locate a specific spot on the Earth's surface no longer than a quarter.
But should the polar axis shift in 5,000 years, allowances are made in the Book of Record for measurement from reasonably permanent base points of the U.S. Geodetic Survey.
And should these fail, detailed directions are given for discovering the time capsule by the employment of geophysics, which we moderns of 1939 locate subterranean deposits of minerals and oil.
The Book of Record also contains a high-frequency vocabulary of 1,000 of the most used words in the English language of 1938. And a mouth map which the Futurian may follow in making the 33 sounds that we use in modern English speech.
If the eloquent father of Mercury, Pharaoh of Egypt, could have spoken across the years to us, with any certainty we would ever receive his message, what would he have said? Would Shakespeare or Voltaire have written any differently than they did, had they known we would still hold their genius in reverence? Would James Watts have stopped his speculations upon the steaming tea kettle, had he known the revolution he bred therein? Within this book of record, sealed for 5,000 years inside the time capsule, some of the great men of our time have consciously left their message for the future. Thomas Mann, exiled German novelist, now living in the United States, winner of a Nobel Prize in Literature, writes,
"The optimistic conception of the future is a projection into time of an endeavor which does not belong to the temporal world. The endeavor on the part of man to approximate to his idea of himself, the humanization of man. What we in this year of our Lord 1938 understand by the term culture, a notion held in small esteem today by certain nations of the Western world, is simply this endeavor. What we call the spirit is identical with it too. Brothers of the future, united with us in the spirit, and in this endeavor, we send our greetings."
Robert A. Millikan, Nobel Prize winner in physics, the man who isolated and measured the ultimate electrical unit, the electron, tells 6939.
At this moment, August 22nd, 1938, the principles of representative ballot government are in deadly conflict with the principles of despotism. If the rational, scientific, progressive principles win out in this struggle, there is a possibility of a warless golden age ahead for mankind.
And Albert Einstein, exiled German physicist, whose genius has changed the course of modern science and philosophy, quietly addresses posterity.
Our time is rich in inventive minds, the inventions of which could facilitate our lives considerably. However, the production and distribution of commodities is entirely unorganized, so that everybody must live in fear of being eliminated from the economic cycle, in this way suffering for the want of everything. Furthermore, people living in different countries kill each other at irregular time intervals, so that also for this reason, anyone who thinks about the future must live in fear and terror. I trust that posterity will read these statements with a feeling of proud and justified superiority.
There is so little time, just 30 seconds left, and we turn another page of the Book of Man.
Wait a minute before you turn that page.
Yes?
I've been listening to all this stuff, and I don't get it. What's it got to do with me? I'm just a citizen and a taxpayer. What's it all about? Where do I come in?
You are in. All of it is yours. And this next minute and the next 5,000 years.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.